Alright, hello and welcome to what I'm currently going with is Gaming 101 with Mr.Berger. Now, the reason for that is because I'm currently working as a substitute teacher, and I thought, okay, that's a clever little pun. Why not combine something that I like, gaming, with something that I'm currently doing? So you can call me by my first name, which is Gabriel or Gabe, or you can call me Mr.Berger, whatever floats your boat. Let's get a few things out of the way right away. First things first, we're looking at my profile here for my main account. And yes, I'm running BlueStacks. There's a couple reasons for that. I'm relatively tech savvy, but I haven't spent enough time to figure out how to stream my iPhone, to my PC rather than my Mac. I looked up a few options. I know that there are a few paid options to do that. I just didn't want to throw down any money on this yet. So I thought, rather than do that, why don't I just stream from my alt account, which is on my computer, running BlueStacks, as you can see here. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, my alt account is a little bit funky, and I'll get into that a little bit later here, what I mean by that. But first of all, let's go ahead and look at my main. So my main is Thaddeus. I'm in the guild, or rather the clan, Ottensiders 670. 670 is the area code for the Northern Mariana Islands, which is where I grew up, and I'll get into that a little bit later as well. Currently at 4290, which is the highest I've ever been, so I'm pretty happy because today I broke my record. I got almost every card. I could save up and get the last few that I'm missing, but I have basically everything except currently the Royale Ghost, because that's the newest one that just dropped on either this account or my alt account. So, here's my clan. You can see that I'm currently the highest, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm just kind of playing with a few buddies from back home. Like I said, or did I say this yet? I had a few friends that got started in Clash Royale and kind of got me into it. So this is kind of some friends from back home where I grew up. So let's go ahead and get some replays started here, and then I want to talk a little bit about myself, a little bit about where I came from, some previous gaming experience that I had, you know, how I ended up playing Clash Royale, all that good stuff. So let's get started. I'm going to start with some replays way up here. Whoops. Way up here, I have one that I had saved from quite a while ago. I had it saved as a base race. Was that it? No, it's a little bit lower. There it is. Okay. Let's watch it in single time for now. Okay, so this is streaming my main account, and I want to talk a little bit about my alt account first. Now, my alt account, you'll notice, is going to be sitting at about 3,000 trophies. The reason for that is, well, first of all, I push in ladder with my main account as hard as I can. That's the one that I really try to push with. My alt account I just created kind of as for fun. What I wanted to do is kind of sit at lowish trophies and slowly level my way up to get a little bit higher as time progresses, rather than try to like constantly push as fast as I possibly can. So what you'll see in my alt account is that I'll be sitting at about 3,000 trophies, despite the fact that I'm at level 10, almost 11. What I'll do is I'll win a battle, right? Generally win. I mean, I won't lie. I still lose. You know, I'm not any good pro or anything like that. I'm just decent. But I'll win a battle, and then what I'll do is I'll just join the next battle right after that and basically exit the game and just restart it again in a minute or two. And I'll essentially have given somebody a free win. I'm sure most people are willing to take it. A few people, you know, are doing the same thing or are trolling and don't want to do that. You know, kind of like me. Anyway, that way you kind of sit yourself right at 3,000 trophies. Now, the advantage for that is that you can then get all the cards that are available in that arena. So let's say that you wanted to sit at Jungle Arena. It's currently 2,600 trophies right now. You can do the same thing there and sit there for a little while until you get like all your cards leveled up a little bit more. And once you've got a good deck, a solid deck leveled up, and you decide, okay, I want to push a little further, then that's when you start actually trying to push and win a few games in a row, rather than like win one and then throw one, win one and throw one, to sit right at about the same trophy count. Sometimes I'll call it rating, because I used to be a WoW player. So anyway, yeah, I'm one of those lame guys that throws games so that I can have over-level cards, but that's just on my alt account for the fun of it. and that's kind of just to help us out with some of these videos. So anyway, I will be streaming a lot of replays and stuff from my main account. That's kind of how I plan to do some of this and showcase some of the cooler decks on my main and show you, some of the decks that I push with, some of my tournament level standard decks and everything. But I'll also showcase some decks on my alt account just for the fun of it. Just keep that in mind when I'm streaming my alt account. I'll generally have, over-leveled cards, and I'll be at an advantage. On my main account, or at tournament level standard, not so much. So anyway, let's get started here. So I started with this name, Clash with Mr.Berger. I kind of had a few ideas. I decided, Gaming 101 with Mr.Berger, because that gives me the potential to delve into other games in the future, because I have played quite a few games. So, first things first, or I guess this is like the 5th thing or something like that already. I'm going to be glancing over to the left here, or is it to the right for you? And the reason for that is because I have it set up so that my TV's over there, and I kind of have my notes, my outline, and all that set up over there. So I am open to suggestions. I could potentially bring it up and run it in the background, run my notes in the background and just glance at them from time to time. That's an option. Let me get another replay going here. Alright, so this is my current ladder deck on my main. Okay. So I could load the notes in the back, and then that would just give me the option to look more at the camera, but I don't think it's too distracting for me to be looking off like this. We'll see how things go. So what I want to do now is kind of start with a little bit of an intro video, as I mentioned. I know I've already introduced my intro video, but let's get started here. So who am I? My name's Gabriel Berger, as I mentioned at the very beginning, and I was born out in the Pacific, and I was raised there as well. So how did I end up there? Well, I was born on the Marshall Islands, Madro to be specific, which is the capital of the Northern Mariana Islands. I'm sorry, that's where I grew up. Capital of the Marshall Islands. I moved to Saipan when I was 3 years old, which is the capital of the Northern Mariana Islands. So how did I end up there? Well, my parents had my brother in Alaska. They were both raised in California, but had my brother in Alaska, and wanted somewhere warmer. So my dad got a job offer in the Marshall Islands, where they had me. And I only lived there till I was about 3. He got another job offer in Saipan, Northern Mariana Islands, about 3 years later, so we moved there. I grew up there, so Saipan is kind of what I consider my home. 670, as I mentioned, is in our clan name, and that's the area code of the Northern Mariana Islands. So Saipan is the capital of a chain of about 9 islands. There's about 3 that are like fully inhabited. A few others have like a couple people on them, and that's it. So I was there about 18 years. I left when I was 21, and I moved to California. I lived in San Diego for about 2 years. Went to Grossmont Community College. After going to community college back home in Saipan for a couple of years, I slowly took my time. I didn't want to rush anything. I wanted to figure out what I really wanted to do. So I transferred eventually into Humboldt State University, which is up in Humboldt County, which is northern California. I'm talking way north, like north of the Bay Area, 5 or 6 hours. So it's been about 3.5 years now in Humboldt County. I decided to major in English because that's something that I've always had an affinity for, and I've always really enjoyed. I've also always had an affinity for public speaking. As I say that, I slur, I mess up, right? Anyway, that's something that I kind of wanted to transition into my love for gaming. I'm like, okay, take 2 things that I like or that I'm good at. Gaming, something that I enjoy, and public speaking. We'll make that 3 things, teaching. So that kind of says a little bit about where I want to go with this channel, which I'll get into a little bit later. So I graduated with my degree in English. I was tutoring before that, and then I started substitute teaching. I've been doing that for about 1.5 years now. I really like it. So I thought, why don't I get a little bit of a side project going here with these YouTube videos, since I got a little bit of free time after work and everything. Let's talk a little bit about my gaming history and how I ended up playing Clash Royale, and kind of where I want to go with this. But before I do that, why don't I go ahead and get another replay going here, because it looks like this one is over. Now I might get a little bit of a lag here, because this I'm running BlueStacks, and occasionally I get a little bit of delay, so I'm sure you can handle it, you can bear with it. Alright, let's do this next one. It's a 2v2 Golem Clone deck. I really like Golem Clone. I'd love to make a video on that eventually. So, Gaming experience. Well, I grew up in the 90s, and I grew up playing on the Super Nintendo initially. So I played games, you know, like Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario Brothers, all that good stuff, all those good Super Nintendo games. Of course, I played Nintendo 64, transitioned into GameCube as I got older. I played a little bit of Wii, but that was more like way later. I bought a used Wii with a bunch of games for my brother at a really discounted price, because I just kind of thought, you know, why not? It was something extra to do. I was interested in it. But that was years after it came out. That being said, I played a lot of PC games since I was a little kid even. Well, little at about 9 years old, I want to say. Well, even younger, you know, I played pinball and all that good stuff way back then. But about 9 is when I started playing StarCraft, and that really opened up the doorway to Blizzard games for me. I'm a huge Blizzard fan. So I started on StarCraft, I played Diablo 2 back in the day, I played Warcraft 3, which of course transitioned me into Dota, which then transitioned me into other MOBAs. I'll talk about that in a second here. And then I played years and years of World of Warcraft, or WoW. My subscription is currently unsubscribed, but I have been on and off for a long time with World of Warcraft. We'll see, maybe I'll get back into it. I've taken like 3+ year breaks before, and then come back into it, so we'll see when the time is right. I'm currently off, though. Kind of a little bit bored with it after all these years. I definitely played some first-person shooters. I remember when I was growing up, Rogue Spear was really popular, for a little while at least. And then it turned into Counter-Strike. And we played Counter-Strike, I know, like 1.3 or 1.2. I definitely played 1.6 a lot with the Tactical Shield. Man, I love that Tactical Shield and that Desert Eagle. That was an awesome combo. So anyway, Counter-Strike was awesome. I played a lot of Half-Life, or at least a little bit of Half-Life. I beat it a couple times, and Half-Life 2 as well, which was really good. I'm still hoping that they'll continue the series. You know, they're supposed to come out with like one little mini, they call it like an episode. It's like Half-Life 2 Episode 1 or something like that. A little mini expansion pack each like month or year, and that kind of was an immediate flop. So they came out with about 2, left it on a cliffhanger, and that was it. It's been what, like 10 years now? Maybe more? Anyway, I'm still hoping that they'll come out with more Half-Life, maybe Half-Life 3, here's the hope. So definitely have a little bit of first-person shooter experience, but I really kind of preferred RTS, which is real-time strategy more. I really like games like Warcraft, StarCraft 2. I played a lot of StarCraft 2, Desert Strike on StarCraft 2, which is a huge tug-of-war game, similar to Clash Royale. What else? I played a lot of MOBAs. Well, when I say a lot, I played a few of them for a lot of time. That's what I mean. So I played a lot of Han, which is Heroes of New Earth, because that was popular in Saipan where I was growing up. I played a little bit of LoL and a tiny bit of Dota 2, but I couldn't really get into it. Han was kind of, dare I say, a rip-off of Dota 1, so it was really familiar. You know, it was like a lot of the same heroes, just like slightly different skins, almost the same names too sometimes, not the exact same name. You know, similar items, everything. So it's really easy for me to transition into. And again, a lot of my buddies played it. And you know, you'll hear this from me time and time again. That's kind of the biggest aspect for gaming for me, is doing something that my buddies play too. Like it's really a social thing for me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I play games a lot on my own. It's no problem for me. But the best part of gaming is playing with your friends and like getting a good team going and having a good time talking on Discord. Man, back in the day, we used to go to we called them PC rooms in Saipan, basically internet cafes. And we'd all play like Han or Dota together and be screaming and having a great time, you know. It was kind of our version of sports, essentially. Anyway, let's move on. So I played Diablo 3 for sure. I really enjoy Hearthstone, I play that still. Played a lot of World of Warcraft, as I mentioned. I'm currently playing Heroes of the Storm. That's something that I do with my friends. And as I was just saying, you know, that's a big priority for me. That's kind of what my friends started playing, so I got into it as well. So here's the Storm. Yeah, Hearthstone I go on and off, but I'm currently playing that quite a bit. Played a few other strategy games, definitely got into SimCity for a while. I'm talking the new SimCity, one that came out a few years ago. Unfortunately, that was also a big flop. I really enjoyed it. The only big problem was there was a lot of bugs on the initial launch. Some issue between EA and the company that created the game rather than the company that like owned it, I think. Anyway, they basically pumped the game out too early before it was ready. They came up with all these issues and bugs. And unfortunately, you know, you like would always lose your city the first day and it had all these problems and complaints. So they basically lost their client base right away. and got all these terrible reviews, so nobody bought the game. And it was a really good game, like I really enjoyed it. They just really needed to like spend another year on it and work out all the kinks, so it would have been awesome. But anyway, I played it as much as I could for a while, really enjoyed it. Even more strategy experience for me, which kind of, you know, it goes back to the point that I really enjoy RTS. Not that that's an RTS game, but strategy games in general. So anyway, when I moved to California in 2012, I got an iPhone, and I really got into playing some mobile games. So I played a few mobile games back in the day. You know, I played Temple Run. I played not the Angry Birds game, but you know, the piggy game where you put the piggies in the little boxes and you have to like fly them up in the helicopters and make little vehicles out of the boxes and motors and stuff. You know, motorcycles and stuff to complete the objective. Somebody can comment and tell me what that game was, or I'll look it up later. Definitely played some word games like Ruzzle. I tried to get a little bit of word cookies, you know, because I graduated with a degree in English, so that's something that I'm really interested in. So those word games kind of appeal to me. I might have played Supercell's 8-Ball Pool back in the day if it was available on web browsers rather than through mobile. But I definitely started Boom Beach. That was the big game that started me on Supercell. And I was able to turn that kind of love for strategy games into this mobile game that I enjoyed playing. So I played Boom Beach for a while. I actually played that before Clash of Clans. I believe Clash of Clans came out first, though. And I really enjoyed them, but I didn't like, you know, there's a huge, like, amount of money that people spend on that game just to, like, battle quicker and things like that. I really didn't like how you have to spend your gems just to, how do I say this? Just to, like, battle again, build your troops up quicker. Like, in Clash Royale, you can sit there and you can battle, and you can lose, and you can battle again, you can win, you can battle again, you can do tournaments on and on and on, and there's no, like, downtime. I mean, you can only get, like, 20 wins a day for gold, but then you can just keep doing tournaments, and you can essentially have as many gems as you need just from playing the game to do as many tournaments as you possibly could, unless you're playing the game an insane amount of hours per day. Anyway, in Boom Beach and Clash of Clans, you couldn't really do that. So I transitioned into Clash Royale eventually. I didn't want to get into it at first because a lot of my students were playing the game, and I was like, oh, I don't really want to be playing the same game as my students when it first came out. But I kind of got over that. And I quickly transitioned, well, not quickly, I later started playing the game. I believe it was like the summer after it came out, after I graduated college, and before I started substitute teaching. You know, when I was still looking for a job and everything, I had a little bit more free time, so I decided to start this new game. And I really enjoyed it. As I mentioned, I played Desert Strike in StarCraft 2, and that's a big, like, tug-of-war, push-and-pull game. And I was able to kind of use that knowledge, and not really even that knowledge, but just that general interest for that tug-of-war style game, and apply it to Clash Royale. I've been playing Clash Royale since then, and I really enjoy it a whole lot. So I really want to focus this channel on Clash Royale mostly, but I'd love the opportunity to talk about other games as well. So let's see if I missed anything about my gaming history. I think that that's mostly it. Now let's talk about where I want to go with the channel, and I would love any input on any of this. So as I mentioned, I would love to mostly, I got used to saying love, I'd like to mostly focus on Clash Royale for now. But of course I'd like the potential to delve into, you know, other games as well. You know, I play Hearthstone a lot, as I mentioned, so I'll probably be streaming some of that pretty soon if this goes well. You know, I know myself, I jump from game to game a lot. I'll probably get into a new game relatively soon too. Maybe I'll start streaming that, whatever it might be. Maybe I'll stop playing Clash, you know, a week from now. I doubt it. I really like this game. But the idea is that I have the option to do that and just kind of stream whatever I'm playing. Now, if I mostly just continue to play Clash Royale, then that's what I'll focus this channel on. I can always just do different, you know, like playlists or whatever it is as I figure out YouTube more and more to do, you know, one for each game or something like that. Alright, I like to focus on beginner tips for now. I see a lot of pro tips, like Clash with Ash pro tips. I watch Clash with Ash a lot. Sir Tag pro tips, you know, a bunch of other pro tips YouTubers. I know OJ does a lot of different stuff, but he also does a lot of pro tips too. So I'd really like to start with beginner tips. Just kind of like, you know, people that are just getting into the game. And there's a reason for that. And I'd like the option to potentially go into more advanced things if the channel's a success and if I get a follower base and all that. The reason, well, let's get another replay started here first. But the reason that I would like to focus on more beginner stuff is, well, first of all, I'm currently working as a substitute teacher. I really enjoy teaching. I've been a tutor for years, or I was a tutor for years before that, in multiple different fields, you know, in classrooms and out of classrooms. So I really like teaching and helping people out. I have my girlfriend who I've got interested in quite a few games, and, you know, sometimes she gets really interested in them and plays them with me a lot. We play World of Warcraft and stuff a lot together. And sometimes she's not so interested. So Clash Royale was one of the games that she wasn't quite as interested in. But regardless, I got her into the game for a little bit, and I was teaching her some of the basics, and she picked it up really quickly. And then her brother came to visit. It turns out he's been away at college as well. It turns out he played the game a lot with his buddies out there. But he was at about 2,000, I want to say, trophies. And I was sitting at about, let's see, I'm sitting at about 4,000-ish now. I think I showed my profile at the very beginning of the game. Or the video, excuse me. So I was able to give him some basic tips anyway. And I was basically able to say, okay, here's, you know, a few card interactions, and here's a few basic, like, archetypes, and here's some basic terminology. Terminology is a huge video, a huge potential video that I would like to do, you know, a bunch of basic terms. And, you know, it kind of gave him this jump up, you know, made me think of snowboarding. When I was a kid, I was too proud to take a lesson. I finally just took one when I was about probably 13 years old, and even though I knew how to snowboard already, the guy just gave me a few basic tips, you know, about, like, using my toes and toe turning, and, man, just like that, made a huge difference. Just like he said 2 sentences to me, and it made a huge difference in my potential to ride. And I learned new things, and I excelled because of that. So, just having a few basic tips for beginners can make a major difference. So I would like to start this channel on that, and potentially go into more advanced stuff later. Alright, let's see. So, I think that's just about everything that I want to talk about. So in closing thoughts, I'd like to ask you guys, all 5 of you, or 1 or 2 of you that are watching this, what do you think of this cool layout? I got, on the left here, I got this burger, Mr.Berger, that one of my students drew me last year. It's a cool little thing. Hopefully it's not something that's copyrighted that she copied. I think it's original. Let's hope for that. I just put a generic knight up there because he's one of my favorite cards. I got the good luck. I was thinking moving the good luck so it looks like I'm saying good luck or the burger's saying good luck. So think about what you think. Sorry, and tell me what you think, rather. What do you think about me incorporating other games? Do you have any advice for improvements on my channel or on my videos? Obviously, I'm just getting started, so I got tons of, I got a huge way to go, a long way to go before I get anywhere near good. So any advice, any constructive criticism is welcome. Just, you know, don't be rude about it, pretty much. Let me know what you think about if I should make it like a totally family-friendly channel. I'd like the opportunity to be myself and, you know, curse here and there. I don't have the mouth of a sailor, but, you know, I do like to cuss every now and then. Regardless, I know that this is a game that is played by a lot of different people, and it's got a huge client base, and I know that a lot of games are played by kids. You know, that's the reality of it. I mean, look at some of the top players. A lot of the top players in this game are, like, guys in high school, you know? So anyway, let me know what you guys think about that. What do you think of the title? You know, Gaming 101 with this Mr.Berger versus, like, Gaming with the Burger, or should I completely scrap it and go with something else? You know, give me ideas. What do you think? And what do you think about this positioning of the notes over there? Like, is it too distracting that I'm going like this all the time, looking over there? Or is that really not bothersome? So, that's what I wanted to close on. Here's a look at my alt account. As I said, I'm sitting at about 3,000 trophies. Now I have access to these cards if I win any games. I'll play one, win it, then join one again and lose it. And that is the end of my first video. So thank you so much for watching. Maybe I'll go and do the generic YouTube thing eventually and talk about, you know, having a hit subscribe and comment. I don't really care about that. I just think it's cool that you even stumbled upon this. So yeah, have a good day.